Everyone says forgiveness is a lovely idea, until they have something to forgive. This simple yet profound truth touches on a deep struggle we all face. Have you ever found yourself hurt by someone's dishonesty or deceit and wondered how to remain gracious in the face of such disappointment? Life, as the Bible teaches, is filled with these trials. Interacting with others, even when they are difficult, is part of our spiritual growth. In Ephesians 4 verse 2, we are reminded to approach others with humility, gentleness, and patience, learning to bear with one another in love, even when it feels impossible. The challenge of dealing with the complexities of human nature is not a burden but an opportunity for us to reflect Christ's love and grow closer to God.
But how do we achieve this in practice? It's not just about surviving tough interactions, but about learning to thrive in them. This means embracing God's call to engage with others, no matter how challenging, as part of our Christian journey. We are called to show grace and understanding, realizing that these interactions can be stepping stones to a deeper spiritual life. As C.S. Lewis emphasized, personal growth often comes from the most difficult moments.
Stay with us as we delve into biblical wisdom, exploring practical ways to overcome these relational hurdles and transform difficult interactions into opportunities for grace and resilience. We're not just talking about coping, we're talking about thriving, even in the midst of chaos. Before we dive deeper into these transformative lessons, take a moment to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your input helps foster a community that grows together in faith, one step at a time. Let me hear a blessed from you all. It's fascinating to observe that those who live according to biblical principles tend to experience lives rich in joy and fulfillment. God's Word doesn't merely provide a roadmap for overcoming obstacles, but serves as a guide for embracing joy and contentment, even in the midst of life's inevitable trials. In fact, the Christian journey is less about fixing every problem and more about transforming how we see the world, shaping our souls to find a deeper satisfaction in Christ. Have you ever considered what life might look like if you stopped seeing challenges as problems to be solved and instead as opportunities for spiritual growth? C.S. Lewis once remarked, "We are far too easily pleased." His words reflect the common human tendency to settle for fleeting happiness when a greater, more lasting joy is offered in Christ. Too often, we place our self-worth in the opinions of others, as if their approval could secure our happiness. Picture yourself on a stage, about to share your innermost convictions. The crowd waits, but instead of focusing on the truth you wish to express, your mind fixates on their reaction. Will they accept me? Will they applaud? This scenario mirrors our daily lives, where the fear of others' judgment can overshadow our authentic selves, pulling us away from the deeper joy that comes from God alone. Are we ready to let go of this endless chase for approval? Can we stop worrying about the world's applause and instead seek the divine approval that gives true peace? Lewis posed this challenge to the soul, inviting us to explore where our real satisfaction lies. In seeking God's wisdom, we step onto a path not just of problem-solving but of internal transformation, reaching new depths of joy, even when life does not go as planned. Have you considered where you are seeking your contentment? Is it in the fleeting opinions of others, or in the eternal promises of God? Life often presents us with a choice between pleasing others or walking faithfully in God's calling. This tension is not new, it has existed for centuries, and Paul speaks directly to this in Galatians 1 verse 10, asking, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people?" This is a question that probes the depths of our motivations. Are we chasing after fleeting affirmation from others, or are we rooted in our identity as children of God, striving to please Him alone? C.S. Lewis once observed, "You can't get second things by putting them first, you can get second things only by putting first things first." Lewis's point resonates deeply with Paul's words. When we prioritize pleasing others, we are chasing a shadow, something that will never truly satisfy. But when we place God first, all else falls into its proper place. Jesus, too, taught us the futility of public displays of righteousness. In Matthew 6 verse 1, He warned, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them." Is our faith driven by appearances, Or does it flow from a genuine desire to align ourselves with God's will? These words challenge us to look inward, to reflect on the authenticity of our actions. Are we seeking the temporary applause of people? Or are we anchored in the eternal approval of our Creator? Lewis reminds us that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. This humility allows us to focus on God's purpose rather than the fickle approval of others, guiding us toward living out our faith with sincerity and depth, undistracted by the noise of human praise. True peace comes when we surrender the need for validation from the world and rest in the unwavering approval of God. It is then that we can walk in freedom, knowing our worth comes from Him alone. Walking this new journey isn't an instant transformation, but more like cultivating a garden over time. You aren't just flipping a switch, you're growing. Each step requires nurturing faith and trust in God, pruning away self-doubt, and uprooting the negative thoughts that hinder growth. C.S. Lewis once said, "Relying on God has to begin all over again every day, as if nothing had yet been done. Each morning brings a fresh opportunity to ask yourself, whom am I truly serving, people or God?" These moments of reflection challenge the heart to choose a deeper, more authentic life in Christ, rather than a shallow one built on external validation. When we stand firmly in our biblical beliefs, not swayed by the winds of public opinion, we grow stronger. Have you noticed how peace flows in when you stop chasing the world's approval and start seeking God's? By focusing on Him, we find the strength to live with purpose, rooted in our true identity as His beloved. Lewis reminds us that the great thing, if one can, is to stop regarding all the unpleasant things as interruptions of one's own or real life, and recognize them as precisely one's life, the life God is sending one day by day. This awareness brings the peace we crave and the satisfaction we long for, found only in placing God at the center of it all. Let's pause for a moment. When the first rays of sunlight sneak into your room, what do you feel? Does it stir hope? Or do you brace yourself for the inevitable clash with the world? C.S. Lewis once said, "Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching." But what happens when the world seems to watch only to distort, misinterpret, and celebrate the downfall of others? It's like walking into a hall of distorted mirrors, where every reflection seems to challenge your sense of self. You encounter people who twist your words, who seem to find joy in sowing discord. But let's ask ourselves, are these moments meant to break us? Or are they moments designed to refine us? Lewis reminds us that God allows us to experience the low points of life in order to teach us lessons that we could learn in no other way. Could it be that these challenging encounters are not meant to wear you down, but to teach you perseverance and grace? The world may throw arrows of deceit your way, but how will you respond? Your honesty and integrity are your shield, stronger than any weapon formed against you. These encounters offer you a choice. Will you let them shape you into something bitter? Or will you stand firm, shining as a beacon in a storm-tossed world? Think about it. Each difficult person, each twisting word, is an opportunity. An opportunity to stand tall in who you are, to reflect God's truth instead of absorbing the chaos. As Lewis so beautifully put it, you are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. Every day is a chance to decide who you will be in the face of adversity.
In Proverbs 12 verse 22, we see a profound truth. The Lord detests lying lips, but He delights in people who are trustworthy. This isn't just about morality, it's about aligning your character with the heart of God. But why should one choose honesty in a world where dishonesty often prevails? The question strikes at the core of human experience. In Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis asks a similar question: why pursue goodness when it feels so countercultural? He answers by reminding us that true goodness, especially honesty, serves as a beacon. Like a lighthouse guiding ships through darkness, your integrity cuts through the falsehood around you. Think of it this way: how does your light, your unwavering commitment to truth, impact others? Could it be that your light is the only thing guiding someone out of their shadows?
Lewis once said, "Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching." This connects directly with Jesus' teaching in Matthew 5 verse 14 to 16, where He calls us the light of the world. Your light isn't meant to be hidden or dulled by fear of rejection or the pull of worldly ways. Rather, it is meant to shine brightly so others may see the way to God. But have you ever wondered if your light, your honesty, could spark change in someone else's life? What if your decision to remain steadfast in truth, in a moment when others choose deceit, becomes the very moment someone finds hope again? We live in a world filled with noise and confusion, and the temptation to blend into the darkness can be strong. But, as Lewis wrote, we are what we believe we are. By embracing your identity as a child of God, your life, shaped by honesty and integrity, becomes a powerful testimony, one that glorifies your Father in heaven. So, how will you choose to shine today? When we choose honesty, we're not merely safeguarding our personal peace, we're crafting a life of depth and intention. Isn't it true that integrity has become rare in a world filled with convenient falsehoods? Yet, by embracing truth, we set a higher standard, building a foundation for something more meaningful. As C.S. Lewis once said, integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. It's not about ease, but about aligning our actions with a greater purpose, even when the path feels steep. Have you ever paused to consider how each honest word shapes not just your own soul, but the community around you? Every truthful moment becomes a building block toward a future where trust and authenticity reign. How much stronger could our relationships, our societies, become if we all committed to this? Rather than simply enduring life's challenges, honesty allows us to flourish, guiding us toward a collective vision where we see each other not just as individuals, but as part of a greater whole. Let us build this reality, one honest conversation at a time, nurturing the kind of world where truth is the foundation upon which all good things grow.
We all have days when life feels like it's throwing everything at us. Maybe you've spilled coffee on yourself, missed a critical appointment, or had someone say something that cut deeply. In moments like these, it's easy to internalize the negativity, letting it fester and affect your mood. But what if, instead of taking it to heart, you recognized a deeper truth? Often, people's hurtful words or actions stem from their own struggles. C.S. Lewis once said, "Pain insists upon being attended to." God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Could it be that the person who wronged you is facing their own hidden battles, with their pain seeping out as anger or frustration?
Imagine the weight lifted from your shoulders if you didn't take every slight personally. Proverbs 19 verse 11 offers wisdom here. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. This verse encourages us to step back, practice patience, and consider the bigger picture. Can you recall a time when you acted out of frustration, perhaps saying something you didn't mean? Was it because you wanted to hurt someone, or were you just overwhelmed by your own struggles? If you can relate, then why not extend the same grace to others? Lewis believed that we are shaped by the choices we make in response to life's hardships. Similarly, Jesus calls us to respond with love, even when others hurt us. He commands in John 13 verse 34 to 35, "Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." This isn't always easy, but what if this love is exactly what the world needs to see God's presence in our lives? When we choose to respond with empathy instead of anger, we reflect Christ's love, which changes not just situations but hearts. In forgiving others, in overlooking offenses, we not only free ourselves from unnecessary burdens but show others the transforming power of love and patience. Can you choose understanding today? What might happen if you did? Have you ever paused, in the midst of feeling hurt or offended, to reflect on the moments when you may have caused similar pain to others? It's easy to get caught up in the sting of someone else's words or actions, but how often do we stop to consider our own fallibility? C.S. Lewis reminds us in Mere Christianity that everyone says forgiveness is a lovely idea. Until they have something to forgive, we're quick to justify our own shortcomings, but slow to extend that same grace to others. By shifting your focus away from the offense and toward understanding, you open the door to personal growth and deeper relationships. Lewis once compared human pride to a disease that blinds us to our own faults. So when faced with rudeness or disappointment, the question is how much of your frustration stems from pride Could it be that the other person is struggling, just as you have in the past? This is not about dismissing your feelings, but about using them as a tool for empathy and transformation. Romans 12 verse 18 urges us to live at peace with others whenever possible. This doesn't mean sacrificing your self-worth, but choosing to prioritize harmony over resentment. Imagine how different our lives could be if we responded to hurt not with retaliation but with grace. Wouldn't that not only enrich your relationships, but also fortify your own peace of mind? To love others as Christ taught is to seek unity in the midst of discord. How much more valuable would your heart be if it sought peace, even when it felt wronged? The path to spiritual growth is not always comfortable, but it's through these moments of pause and reflection that we truly become more Christ-like. Lewis reminds us that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Could it be that the moments when we feel hurt are precisely the moments God is calling us to grow? Patience is not merely the ability to wait, it is the quiet strength that shapes us in the midst of life's hurried storms. In a world where urgency seems to be the rule, where cutting corners and hastening to the finish line are often seen as virtues, we must ask ourselves, at what cost? Have we forgotten the deeper lessons of life, the values that truly ground us? C.S. Lewis reminds us that the longest way round is the shortest way home, underscoring the idea that rushing rarely leads us to where we need to be. Patience, on the other hand, invites us to slow down and breathe deeply, offering us the chance to align our actions with our true selves. It's not just about tolerating the wait, but about mastering the moments in between, the quiet, often overlooked opportunities to grow in wisdom and grace. In the Bible, James 1:4 calls us to let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Are we allowing this virtue to refine us, or are we swept away in the frantic pace of the world around us? The chaos of life will always be there, threatening to unbalance us, but patience allows us to stand firm. It's the act of seeing the bigger picture, understanding that everything unfolds in God's timing, not ours. Like the eye of a hurricane, patience offers calm and clarity in the midst of swirling confusion. When we embrace patience, we choose to lead, not follow the chaos. We become the steady presence others look to, and in that space we rediscover who we are and what we believe. In what ways can we cultivate this deeper sense of patience in our everyday lives? How can we become that calm amidst the storm? As Lewis so often encourages us to reflect on the eternal rather than the immediate.
Why does patience hold such value in a world driven by the desire for immediate results? In an age where quick fixes are glorified, patience becomes a rare and profound virtue. It becomes a quiet strength, distinguishing us from those swept away by the rush of the world. As C.S. Lewis once wrote, we must lay before him what is in us, not what ought to be in us. This insight speaks to the heart of patience, which isn't merely waiting for the sake of waiting, but a deeper understanding of the process. Patience allows us to face life's trials with a calm spirit, knowing that God's timing is far more perfect than our own. Galatians 5 verse 22-23 reminds us of the fruit of the Spirit, such as forbearance and self-control, which are cultivated through this very patience.
Have you ever considered how much strength it takes to refrain from acting on impulse? It's a strength not of passivity, but of wisdom. When we resist the urge for instant gratification, we allow situations and even people to show their true selves. As C.S. Lewis often explored, our spiritual journey is not a sprint but a marathon, filled with moments of reflection, growth, and even setbacks. Patience helps us discern when to act and when to wait, teaching us to trust in the unseen work of God, who is always moving behind the scenes, even in our moments of stillness. In our hurried world, isn't it comforting to know that real progress isn't always visible? It is often within the waiting that we are refined and strengthened, learning more about our purpose and the wisdom of God's plan. Patience gives us the clarity to see beyond the immediate chaos, grounding us in the peace that comes from trusting in God's timing. It empowers us to make decisions not just for the now, but for a future rooted in wisdom and faith. So, what will you choose? The fleeting satisfaction of now or the deep fulfillment that only patience can bring? When was the last time life tested your patience? Perhaps it was during an ordinary moment stuck in traffic, feeling the pulse of frustration rise as someone cut you off. Or maybe it was in the waiting, when a friend was late, leaving you restless. These seemingly insignificant moments are far from trivial. They're an invitation to go deeper within yourself. Consider what C.S. Lewis once said: the real problem is not why some pious, humble, believing people suffer, but why some do not. Could it be that these trials, however small, are opportunities to shape our souls? In Romans 12, verse 12, we're reminded to be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. But what does that truly mean? It's not just about enduring a difficult moment, it's about transformation. Imagine this: every act of patience is like placing a brick in the foundation of your character, one that isn't built overnight, but is formed in the heat of adversity. Patience isn't passive, it's a form of strength. C.S. Lewis believed that pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Could your impatience be a whisper, or even a shout from God? A call to be not only patient but powerful in that patience, reflecting Christ's quiet strength.
So, the next time you're caught in a situation that tests your calm, take a deep breath. See it as an opportunity, not a setback. Patience is your silent yet potent strength, capable of transforming you and those around you. Through Christ, we don't just endure, we thrive in the waiting, in the trials, and in the moments that shape who we are meant to be. Embrace the power of patient strength and let it radiate from within, changing the world one small moment at a time.
Consider the moment when you quietly observe a person offering help to someone struggling with heavy bags. What stirs within you when you witness this simple act of kindness? This unspoken gesture mirrors a powerful truth often emphasized by C.S. Lewis: don't shine so others can see you. Shine so that through you, others can see him. In this way, actions become the strongest form of testimony, speaking louder than any declaration. Have you ever thought about how your smallest deeds may ripple through the lives of others? Lewis often spoke about the significance of ordinary moments and how they can turn into extraordinary reflections of Christ. It's not through loud proclamations that faith spreads, but through quiet consistency and love. Your actions can set off a chain reaction, touching hearts in ways you may never fully see or understand. By choosing to live out the teachings of Christ through your actions, you become a living, breathing testament to his grace. Do your choices inspire others to do the same? In today's world, where distractions and noise seem to dominate every moment, the importance of setting an example of faith and hope has never been more critical. How often do we find ourselves swept along with the current of the crowd, losing sight of who we are called to be? C.S. Lewis once observed, integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. This resonates deeply with the call to stand firm in faith, especially when it is easier to conform. What if, instead of blending into the chaos, we choose to be that light Jesus speaks of in Matthew 5, verse 14-16? You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. The act of living out Christian values, even in the smallest ways, becomes a beacon for others, offering a glimpse of hope, strength, and the love of Christ. When adversity strikes, it is in these moments of challenge that our character is truly revealed. Choosing peace over panic, kindness over anger, these are the decisions that echo beyond our own lives, influencing those around us. Lewis writes, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. What hardships are shaping you? How might your quiet choices to forgive, to love, and to endure become the silent sermon others need? Every small act of grace illuminates a broader path, creating ripples of change that spread throughout our families, communities, and beyond. By embodying the teachings of Christ, we not only enrich our own lives, but also inspire others to seek a deeper connection with the divine, transforming our world one quiet moment of faith at a time. In his letter to Timothy, Paul provides a profound message in 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. This call to action goes beyond age, urging us to be living examples of Christ's love and grace. But how do we live out these virtues in a world that often tests our patience and faith? C.S. Lewis once said, "Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching." It's not just in grand moments, but in the small, seemingly insignificant choices that we shape our character. Consider this: how do you respond when no one is there to applaud your efforts? True growth begins in the quiet corners of our lives, where we choose kindness over anger, humility over pride, and faith over doubt. Lewis often emphasized that our choices, no matter how small, ripple outward into the world, much like the gradual molding of our souls into what God intends them to be. Begin by embracing the simple disciplines: listen with empathy, express gratitude, and face your challenges with courage. You don't have to be perfect, as Lewis reminded us. Progress means getting nearer to the place you want to be. The journey of faith is not about flawless execution, but about daily perseverance. With each decision to embody love, faith, and purity, you become a light in someone else's life. Isn't it in these moments of quiet transformation where we find the truest joy? Not in seeking recognition, but in knowing that through our actions, we reflect the love of Christ to a watching world. In James 2 verse 18, we are presented with a profound truth: but someone will say, "You have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds." This scripture invites us to reflect on a simple yet powerful question: how do our actions reflect the depth of our faith? C.S. Lewis, in his writings, often pointed out that faith is not just about internal belief, but about what we do with that belief. He once wrote, "What we practice, not what we preach, is usually our great contribution to the conversion of others." Have you ever considered how your daily choices might be the sermon someone else needs to hear? Let's face it, the world is full of critics, those who question, doubt, or challenge our every move. Their voices can sometimes seem deafening, creeping into our minds and casting shadows of insecurity and fear. C.S. Lewis, who faced his share of criticism throughout his life, reminds us that these voices only have the power we grant them. He famously said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." So, why not begin now? Imagine yourself, as Lewis suggests, clothed in an invisible armor, where these criticisms and doubts fall away like arrows clattering uselessly to the ground. Have you allowed those voices to dictate your steps, or have you found the strength to rise above them? Just as Lewis encouraged readers to focus on their journey with clarity, we too must walk our paths with determination. Picture yourself listening to music that drowns out the chaos of the world, tuning in only to the rhythm of your faith. What if every action you took was a note in the song of your life, a melody of hope, resilience, and unwavering trust in God? Lewis believed that true faith calls for perseverance in action, and he often asked his readers, are your actions in harmony with your beliefs? By focusing on what truly matters, your deeds, your choices, your faith, your life becomes a living testament. Critics may persist, but as long as your faith is active and visible, as James and Lewis both remind us, their noise holds no sway. Let your actions speak louder than their words, and walk with a steady heart. Can you trust that, through your faith-filled deeds, God will work through you to inspire others? Have you ever felt like the world is crumbling around you, as if every step you take is met with resistance and every effort seems in vain? It's in these very moments, when hope feels so far out of reach, that you are called to stand firm. But how do we endure when the weight of criticism and opposition presses down on us? C.S. Lewis once said, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. Isn't it during times of trial that we see who we truly are? When facing criticism or rejection, it becomes tempting to abandon what is good and right for the sake of comfort. But 1 Peter 2 verse 15 reminds us that it is through doing good that we silence the ignorant talk of foolish people." Could it be that the very act of perseverance in goodness is our strongest defense? Even Jesus, during his earthly ministry, was no stranger to opposition. In Matthew 5 verse 11 to 12, he spoke directly to the heart of the matter. "Blessed Are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me? What a powerful reminder that the trials we face are not meaningless, they have eternal significance. But what if we shifted our focus from the pain of persecution to the reward of faithfulness? Rejoice and be glad, Jesus says, for your reward in heaven is great. It's easy to lose sight of this truth when insults feel personal, but can we not find peace in knowing that the prophets before us endured the same? Perhaps the real question is not why we suffer, but how we can remain anchored in God's truth amidst the storm. In the face of adversity, Lewis' words, coupled with Scripture, invite us to reflect deeply on our own responses. Do we shy away from the goodness we're called to because of fear, or do we, like Jesus, stand firm, trusting that God's purpose far outweighs the temporary sting of criticism? In our walk with Christ, we are often faced with the voices of critics, distractions, and the chaos of a world that seems to pull us in many directions. But Jesus invites us to look beyond the noise and focus on what truly matters, that which is eternal and unchanging. This does not mean turning a blind eye to the struggles around us or pretending life's challenges do not exist. Instead, it's about acknowledging that while the world is unpredictable, we have control over how we respond to adversity, and our integrity is rooted in what is good, pure, and true. C.S. Lewis once said, "Integrity is doing the right thing. Even when no one is watching, this calls us to a higher standard, where our actions reflect our faith regardless of external circumstances." Philippians 4 verse 8 encourages us to dwell on what is noble, right, and admirable, emphasizing the importance of what fills our minds. When we choose to focus on what is excellent and praiseworthy, our hearts become steadfast, and we are less swayed by fleeting opinions or temporary struggles. Yet, how often do we find ourselves anxious about the judgment of others? How often do we allow fear to dictate our choices? Lewis speaks of this when he explores the idea of pride in mere Christianity. Pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next man. In this context, isn't it possible that much of our fear of criticism is rooted in pride, in the desire to be esteemed higher than those around us? The antidote, Lewis suggests, is humility, a quiet trust in God, where our value is not tied to the applause or approval of others, but anchored in our obedience to Christ. As Christians in a complex and often critical world, we are called to respond with grace and resolve, finding strength not in validation but in the quiet assurance that comes from living in accordance with God's truth. We are not defined by the chaos outside but by the peace within, rooted in our relationship with God. What if, instead of reacting to every critique or harsh word, we turned inward and asked ourselves, am I living for the fleeting praise of men or for the enduring approval of God? Our response to this question will determine the quality of our actions and the depth of our character. Let us then move forward, not seeking validation from critics or crowds, but focusing on the eternal call to reflect Christ in all we do. True strength lies in a life lived with unwavering integrity, where actions speak louder than words and faith remains unshakable. Appreciate your loved ones. Have you ever postponed a call or a message to someone, thinking, I'll do it tomorrow, only to realize that tomorrow never comes? For many of us, this is a hard lesson learned the hard way. The Bible, a source of wisdom as old as the hills but as relevant as your latest social media update, teaches us a crucial principle: our life is brief and uncertain. In James 4 verse 14, why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. This reminder of our mortality is not meant to scare us, but to make us understand that everyone we value is also on borrowed time. Imagine if we lived every day as if it were our last chance to tell someone we love them, appreciate them, or forgive them. How much more meaningful would our relationships be? Take a moment to recall the last time you talked to someone close to your heart. Did you part ways well? Or were there hard words left unsaid? The Bible gently but firmly reminds us not to go to bed angry. In Ephesians 4 verse 26 to 27, we are instructed, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Life is incredibly fleeting. One minute you're planning a weekend meetup, the next you're wishing for just one more moment to say what really mattered. This is not about living in fear, but about living with intention. Valuing your loved ones means making the most of now, forgiving quickly, loving intensely, and never missing the chance to express how much they mean to you. In Colossians 3 verse 13, we are called to bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, so instead of getting lost in the chaos of our daily lives, let's take a second to think about who adds color to our lives and let them know they are valued not tomorrow, but today.
Whether it's a simple message, a long-awaited call, or a tight hug, make it count. Remember, in the grand journey of life, these moments of connection are what truly matter. Let's not wait for a reminder of our mortality to start appreciating those who matter most. Therefore, it's time to value those you love, not tomorrow, but now. Your participation is crucial to enriching our community and following the path Christ taught us. Let's stay strong and steadfast in love and faith. Thank you so much for your support here, and until next time, my friends.